House File 4138, Chair Scott, and Chair Scott's motion will be that House File 4138 be re-referred to Commerce, Finance, and Policy. And there is an amendment. Let me just shuffle my papers here and get things out of the way. And there is an A2 amendment, and Chair Scott, is that your amendment, and did you want to adopt that at the outset?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, that is my amendment, and I'd like to just do an brief oral amendment, as I mentioned to you earlier.
Okay.
On this amendment.
Yep.
And that would be striking on lines 1.16, the language that says "or is about," and then on 1.17, "to engage in."
Okay, so I think we can just incorporate that amendment. We don't have to actually vote on it separately, but just to make sure everyone understands. So on line 1.16 of the A2 amendment, at the end, after the comma, the words "or is about," and then on the next line, on line 1.17, the words "to engage in" are stricken,
That's right.
correct? Mm-hmm. And is that good enough? Staff? Okay, yep. So so we're going to, Chair Scott wants to incorporate that change into the A2. And so we will vote on the A2 as amended by that change.
Yes, please.
So Chair Scott, did you want to just then vote on the A2 and then discuss the bill as amended?
Yes, please.
Okay, so any discussion to the A2 amendment? We're okay doing that? Representative Feist?
Really important clarification. Will the amendment also delete those 2 extra commas? Usually when we have like amendments, it says like delete the comma. Anyway.
I don't know, this sounds like something for the reviser's bill, maybe.
Let's prevent that from happening to the reviser's bill. Let's have
Okay, well,
nonpartisan staff just make sure on the record that we've got the
Okay,
commas where needed
all
or
right.
not needed.
Let's see, Mr. Hopkins, you want to, let's see. Should we take out the 2 commas? Yes, he's saying yes. Okay, so we're taking out that, thank you, Representative Feist. That includes striking the 2 commas. All right, we want to make sure we get our commas correct. So all in favor of adopting the A2 amendment as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion prevails, and the amendment is adopted. So to your bill as amended, Chair Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Social media is consuming our lives. We know that social media platforms are addictive by design, and that is reflected in teen usage of social media. The Office of the U.S. Surgeon General reports that 95% of 13 to 17-year-olds are on social media platforms, and a 2023 Gallup poll found that teens spend on average 20% of their day on social media platforms. In 2025, in the 2025 Minnesota Student Survey, nearly 1 in 5 Minnesota high school students reported being on social media between the hours of 12 a.m. and 5 a.m., 5 school nights a week. Social media platforms target ads and content to users based on a variety of factors, including an estimate of age determined after time spent on the platform. I can't think of another product for which teens sign a contract, especially one which takes, on average, 20% of each day. When teens enter into this contract, the platforms monetize and sell the minors' data to other platforms and for targeted commercial advertising. As parents and as lawmakers, we should not be okay with that. We have the power to enforce consumer protections around products used by Minnesotans, especially our kids. My remarks highlight just a brief overview of how youth are being exploited by unfair trade practices, and those legislature should require responsibility from platforms to protect Minnesota youth online. House File 3418 seeks to mitigate some of these practices with a 2-fold approach. Covered social media platforms, as defined by our bill as platforms which made $1 billion in advertising revenues worldwide in one or more of the preceding 3 years, must use the same age estimation technology currently being used to target content and ads to instead protect our youth. If age estimation technology predicts that a user is 15 or under, verifiable parental consent must be obtained to have an account with the platform. Verifiable parental consent already exists under 1998 federal law, the Child Online Privacy and Protection Act, or commonly known as COPPA. The implementing regulations have also been outlined by the Federal Trade Commission. Either a parent or legal guardian can give verifiable parental consent. Number 2, if verifiable parental consent is given, the user experience for the youth must be different from an adult account user experience. No targeted commercial advertising to the youth user, and no addictive features present in the user experience, including infinite scroll, autoplay video, or metrics displayed such as likes on the account, a likes count. This bill does not ban users from having social media. Instead, it requires a parent or guardian to approve of social media contractual agreements. It also requires a different user experience for youth. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to testifiers, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So the first person on the list that I have is Maggie Hange. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. Chair Liebling, Chair Scott, and members of the committee, my name is Maggie Hange, and I am here from the Minnesota Catholic Conference, the public policy voice of the Catholic Church in Minnesota, to share our support for House File 4138, the Stop the Harms of Addictive Social Media Act. Please vote yes. Social media platforms are designed to be addictive, and clearly their business model is working. Kids spend huge portions of their day online, and they are replacing in-person relationships with online interactions, which is leading to mental health challenges like anxiety and depression. According to a 2025 Pew Research study, 48% of teens say that social media has a mostly negative effect on people their age, a 16% increase in just 3 years. Additionally, studies link Instagram usage, especially in teen girls, to struggles with body image and self-worth. Instagram also has the highest percentage of adolescent users reporting cyberbullying. We should not sit back and let big tech harm the lives of our children. They deserve better. This bill would help alleviate these problems through 2 key parts, as was mentioned. It would require verifiable parental consent for child accounts, and it would require that social media platforms be less addictive by design for youth under 16 years old. Nowhere else do we allow minors to enter a contract, not for sports, camps, or school outings. Yet they are allowed to sign over their data to big tech, and sometimes without their parents even knowing. The kids then become the products off which the platforms can profit. As adults, we should not be content with this predatory business model. Parents deserve the right to consent to their child's account creation. But one could argue, shouldn't parents just be better parents and limit the amount of time their kids are spending online if they feel the need? The reality is, not all parents are in a position to monitor their children as closely as they would like. They may work long hours or be a single parent just trying to keep up. Ensuring that the platform is designed to be less addictive will help all children. If a parent provides consent, he or she can do so knowing that the most addictive features, targeted advertising, infinite scroll, autoplay video, and more, will be prohibited from the child accounts. This puts all children on the same playing field while simultaneously stifling a lot of the addictive appeal. Let's not leave it to these platforms to self-regulate. Other countries and states are taking steps to protect youth online. Minnesota should follow suit. Please support this bill and ensure a safer digital environment for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Jerry and Gianna Cox. Welcome to the committee. If you would, you're both going to speak, I take it? Okay. Just please state your name for the record and go ahead with your testimony, and then we'll do
Thank
the
you.
other one.
My name is Jerry Cox, and I'm the parent of 2 daughters. I want to encourage you all to vote in support of House File 4138. My oldest daughter is now 20. Let me go back really fast. I am grateful for my mom. She used to limit our TV viewing time in the 1970s and 80s. And thankfully, when I was 15 years old, the MTV Video Music Channel of 1983 had no way to keep me plugged in after I got bored. So my oldest daughter, again, is 20. I remember that she was able to obtain an Instagram account at the age of 12 without our knowledge or permission, and even before she had a phone. It was easy. She discovered that she could access the internet from her bedroom using her bright toy pink Amazon Kids Kindle. It was a gift from relatives that was only meant to encourage her to read books. Both girls quickly figured out how to manipulate their Amazon Kindle accounts, change passwords without parental consent. From that point, my eldest created an Instagram account to see what her classmates were posting. My husband and I only found out about 6 months later when a friend called to ask if we knew that our 12-year-old was on Instagram. We are thankful that she did not get harmed on the platform, but it certainly created big arguments and stress for us at home. We removed the Kindles and we explained our concerns. We waited to give the girls phones. Our other daughter, Gianna, is 15, and she is here today. And she likes watching YouTube on the family computer. My husband and I made a tough decision to not allow her to have the other social media accounts on her phone after our experience with our oldest daughter. Not surprisingly, our family has had a lot of these discussions over screen time, safeguards, and my husband and I are navigating this new frustrating world that we never had to when growing up. Parenting in the age of portable 24/7 screens, entertainment, and advertising. I would love it if the social media platforms would realize that they might gain customers by actually helping us parents. Since they don't seem to want to do that, though, they don't seem to be doing that. I am asking for you all with this request. Please help parents of minors under 16 by setting in place a few simple things, like verified parental consent for a social media account, and having that would have at least let us know that she wanted to be on Instagram when she was 12. The ability to set time limitations and prohibiting addictive features like infinite scroll. I would encourage you to support HF 4138. Thanks for your time today.
All right, thanks for your testimony. And Gianna, welcome to the committee. Just state your name and go ahead.
My name is Gianna Cox. My mom always told me to be careful when playing around the street. If you don't know to look both ways, you risk getting hit by a car. It's the same with giving children unmonitored and unfiltered access to social media. By handing your young child a device with unrestricted social media apps, you hand them a gateway to things like screen addiction, self-comparison, and depression. A child's mind is very impressionable. In childhood, we are extremely influenced by our surroundings. That's why it is important to teach kids how to read and count from early ages, because these are the very things that everything else they will learn in their later years is built upon. However, having social media from a young age gives kids the impression that societal image and keeping up with the latest internet trend are more important than their schooling. Unfiltered social media access exposes kids to stuff they might not be able to understand. This can encourage children to do their own research on the unknown topic and help them learn, but some stuff is better left unknown. Addictive features that many social media apps have, specifically the infinite scrolling feature and having one video after another play automatically, give the brain a dopamine hit each time you watch a new video. This helps to draw you into the app and boost interactions. But, as previously stated, a child's mind is very impressionable. While it is more dangerous for younger children, I myself have felt the effects of unrestricted infinite scrolling. Sometimes I have felt myself getting bored of the tiring scrolling. My brain has been so accustomed to getting that dopamine hit at a regular interval that it's hard to tear myself away, even though I want to do something else. Children will spend hours watching short-form video content to pass the time. Because of this, their brains are being taught to process information very quickly, and oftentimes they might not even remember what they have just watched. This becomes a nightmare for teachers everywhere, as the children they teach have been shortening their attention span. Using social media without safeguards is damaging to a child's mental health. So why aren't we safeguarding children like me? Please help my generation by passing HF 4138. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Next, I have Kia Fanberg. Welcome to the committee. If you would just state your name and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you. Hello, Chair Liebling and members of the House Judiciary Committee. My name is Kaya Fanberg, and I'm a high school student in Minnesota. I'm here today to give my support for the Stop Harms from Addictive Social Media bill. Social media is a complex issue that has had an emotional, physical, and mental health impact on my generation. Today, I'd like to talk about social media addiction and its impact on teen self-worth. Social media addiction decreases interactions between teens and their peers, causing them to miss out on making memories and long-lasting relationships. Teens are more engaged with their screens and phones than the people standing right in front of them. This is easily observed in schools. Before school, at lunch, and after school, teens are often looking at social media platforms instead of interacting with their friends. While these apps claim to make our world smaller and more connected, many people my age feel disconnected and lonely. As teens are more frequently exposed to social media and its addictive features, their brains begin to resemble a brain hooked on a highly addictive drug. In fact, according to a 2025 Pew Research poll, 9 out of 10 teens use at least one social media platform. Social media has become a part of my generation's lives in unavoidable areas, such as school projects and sports recruiting. This causes our performance and self-worth to be constantly measured in an AI world that blurs the lines of truth and reality. A world where social media companies have little accountability. Using addictive features to lure teens into social media at the expense of our mental health and development is an important public policy concern that this bill addresses. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we're going to go to some testifiers on Zoom. And first, we have Megan Stokes.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. State your name, please, and go ahead with your testimony.
Yes, for the record, my name is Megan Stokes. I am the State Policy Director at the Computer and Communications Industry Association. Good morning, Chair Scott, Chair Liebling, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. The CCIA shares the goals of improving safety online for young people. Our members have invested heavily in parental controls, privacy protections, and tools that allow families to tailor online experiences to a child's developmental needs. However, House File 4138 would likely undermine youth safety rather than enhance it. First, the bill's scope is narrow and unclear. It relies on vague concepts such as the platform's primary purpose and undefined addictive features. Unclear standards make it difficult to determine whether this law applies. As a result, some services may fall outside the bill's scope entirely, creating patchwork protections in an ecosystem where teens frequently move between platforms. Second, the bill would require age estimation systems that raise some privacy concerns. Because the bill does not clearly define what qualifies as a commercially reasonable age assurance, companies may feel compelled to adopt intrusive verification systems that collect sensitive personal information. This runs counter to widely recognized data minimization principles and could increase the risk of data breaches. We've seen this with Hinge and with the T app earlier this past summer. Furthermore, the requirement to update age estimations every 100 hours would effectively force platforms to implement location-based tracking. Finally, restrictions on personalized or algorithmically ranked features could unintentionally weaken safety tools. Those systems are often used to prioritize helpful content, filter out age-inappropriate material, limit risky interactions between adults and teens. Broad restrictions on those tools could actually make it harder, not easier, for services to protect young users. For these reasons, we respectfully urge the committee to oppose House File 4138 and instead pursue more comprehensive solutions that strengthen parental oversight, protect privacy, and provide consistent safeguards for teens online. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Please, if you can stay available in case there are questions, that would be great. Next, we have Nathan Trail. Welcome to the committee. If we see you, hopefully we'll hear you, and please state your name and go ahead.
Thank you. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Chair Scott, Chair Liebling, members of the committee, my name is Nathan Trail, and I'm the Vice President of State Government Affairs at the Information Technology Industry Council, or ITI. Thank you very much for having me here today. While ITI and our members certainly share the important goal of improving youth online safety, we must respectfully oppose HF 4138 as written. We believe the bill could undermine youth safety rather than enhancing it. It raises significant technical, constitutional, and policy concerns, including restrictions on safety-enhancing platform features. The bill's scope is both narrow and vague, creating definitional ambiguity around terms such as primary purpose and addictive interface features. This language could allow many widely used platforms to argue that they're outside of the scope of the law, resulting in uneven coverage across the online ecosystems. Teens move quickly between apps and regulating only certain services while others remain ineffective does not provide consistent protections and may also raise constitutional concerns. The bill would also restrict personalized and algorithmically ranked experiences, which are often used to promote safer online environments. These systems help prioritize helpful content, filter out age-inappropriate material, and limit risky interactions between teens and adults. Broad restrictions on these tools could unintentionally make it harder for platforms to identify and remove harmful content. For these reasons, we respectfully urge the committee to oppose HF 4138 and instead pursue more comprehensive solutions that provide stronger protections for young users while maintaining workable safeguards for families and developers. And with that, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony, and please stick around if you can. Amy Boss? Welcome.
Yes, good morning, members of the committee. My name is Amy Boss. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs at NetChoice, a trade association dedicated to free speech and free enterprise online, testifying in respectful opposition to HF 4138. We all want Minnesota kids to be safer online, but we believe this bill falls far short of achieving that goal. The core problem is that in order to comply with this bill's age estimation mandates, platforms would be forced to build what amounts to a digital ID system for every Minnesota user. After 25 hours of use, a platform must estimate a user's age with 80% confidence. At 50 hours, 90% confidence, with a requirement resetting every 100 hours. The only way to meet these thresholds in practice is through data collection, location-based and behavioral tracking, and ultimately, we believe through a government-issued ID from both minors and parents. This bill doesn't protect children's data. It mandates the collection of it, and every identity profile created is another target, one breach away from exposure to the bad actors Minnesota families are worried about. The constitutional concerns are equally serious. The Supreme Court has repeatedly struck down age verification and parental consent mandates as violations of the First Amendment, including in Reno versus ACLU, Ashcroft versus ACLU, and Brown versus Entertainment Merchants Association. In addition, in Moody versus NetChoice, the court reaffirmed that personalized feeds are protected expressive activity, and this bill directly burdens that protected speech. Finally, I do want to mention that the premise underlying this bill risks misunderstanding the problem. Addiction is a clinical term. Much of what is described as addiction is more accurately habitual use. Treating it as addiction can backfire, fostering guilt and a sense of helplessness in young users rather than encouraging healthy, manageable engagement. We do urge the committee to oppose this bill as written. We stand ready to work with you on solutions that genuinely protect kids without forcing Minnesota families into a mandatory digital ID system. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you for your testimony. So those are the people I have for testifiers on the list. So we will move to member discussion, and first up is Representative Engen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Co-Chair Scott, for bringing this bill. I would have liked for anybody who was in opposition to this bill to come and actually have the gall to testify in front of us, because we have a room full of kids right now, and a generation that includes myself, that have been completely destroyed by purposeful corporate negligence. Let's say that first and foremost. This is corporate negligence that they have actively turned a blind eye to in the destruction that they've caused. And it's not just on Facebook, it's not just on Instagram, it's not just on those platforms, Snapchat. It's now on Minecraft and Roblox, which children as young as 5 years old are being hooked on before then being exploited by the most disgusting sexual predators that this earth has to offer. And they've turned a blind eye to it, hiding behind Section 230 federally so that they can avoid any and all liability. And it's wrong. It's disgusting. They should be here and they should be willing to work with us in forming a bill that would be to their liking as well as to the intent of yours and myself. I want to keep working on this. I want to make sure that that 1 billion number doesn't inadvertently leave out some of the actors who are also hurting and damaging our kids. But this is a great start, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Representative Feist.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Engen, I know we've agreed on some things, but I don't think we've ever so passionately agreed. So I'm with you. Everything Rep. Engen just said. When we came into this hearing, I was planning on asking some technical questions about how this would work. But the testimony and the letters provided by the big tech have led me to just passionately support your bill. Just to quote them, they said they share our goals. They said, quote, "We all want Minnesota kids to be safer online." I do not believe that. I just think they want our children to spend time on their product. A couple other points. Parental controls really are ineffective. Mom of a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old, very complicated. Like, I can't figure out how to do it. I sort of did it, but then we turned off the controls for my son when he went on a trip, and then we were like, I don't remember how to turn them back on. So we just trust them. Neither of my kids have social media. I'm very happy about that. I think about what they did in Australia, where they just banned social media for kids under 16. And, there's this is a complicated area to legislate, but we have to do something. And I believe that even if we do something and maybe it gets litigated and maybe it gets struck down, that when we see that there is bipartisan support and passion around this type of legislation, hopefully that will encourage these large companies to change their business practices over time. So I believe that doing something, even if it is imperfect, is really important. And lastly, I just want to kind of talk about the collective action problem that Jonathan Haidt talks about in his book, Anxious Generation, that when you talk to kids, like we've heard from here today, they don't like what social media is doing with their lives and their relationships, but when you ask them, do you want to give it up? It's very hard for them to do so when other kids have it. My son almost missed a track meet because they only were telling kids where to go on Snapchat, and he doesn't have Snapchat, and that's stupid, that he almost missed his meet. But when you ask kids if everybody gave up social media, is that something that they would want? Then the data shows that they actually would. So they have a collective action problem. That means that we need to act. And so I know that this bill needs additional work and conversation, but I do not think that we should let these statements or the letters from these big technology companies bully us into just standing down and thinking that it's too hard. This is important. So thank you.
Representative Mueller.
Madam Chair, and thank you to Chair Scott for bringing this bill. I also support it, but I just have to sit here, especially after the Representative Greenman bill, where we heard the reasons for this that I heard are protecting children, holding the industry accountable, and considering mental health concerns of youth. And when we talk about guns being the leading cause of death for children and adolescents in an industry that is acting with corporate negligence, they have the technology they can use to ensure that guns are only used by the lawful owner of that gun, and the mental health experiences of children who have lived through shootings, who have to live life in fear of being shot, have active shooter drills. I just really want to implore my colleagues to have the same passion for protecting children in those situations as you have for this bill. So again, thank you for bringing this. I'm glad to support it.
All right, Representative Finke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have much more to add than my two colleagues. I do want to just recognize one of the things that the testifiers said, which is that, you know, their kids got Kindles and quickly manipulated them to be able to do the things they wanted to be able to do on them. I think, you know, all of our children now have iPads in school, and those iPads have protective software to make sure they don't do the things with them that those kids do every single day on those iPads, right? I want to make sure that we have solutions in place that will protect kids in the way we want to. And one of the testifiers from the industry said they want a more comprehensive solution, and Representative Feist already mentioned this, but I very firmly intend to bring legislation next year to ban social media for people who are 16 and under. Australia did it. I think this is a toxic and terrible product. It is not a product. Our children are products. I don't know if sometimes we think of these things as products, but they're free, and the only intention of social media is to scrape more data out of humanity to be sold for profit by companies. And it's actually also as addictive for adults as it is for children. Like, we're all susceptible to this. It's a huge problem, and I think that we should follow our friends to the south and just get rid of this for kids.
Representative Curran.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair Scott, for the bill, and I appreciate the conversations ahead of time. And just to note from some comments, both from testifiers, thank you for being here, by the way, much appreciated, and some comments from colleagues that social media is a toxic place. It really, truly is a toxic and damaging place. And we have the opportunity right now to protect kids through legislation. But I also want to just center what kids have been saying in this conversation with us here as well, and that's that we also all have a role to play in what we contribute to social media and whether or not we contribute to toxicity on social media. And the things that we as adults post on social media, even with bills like this, may still be available to kids. And they're taking in the information from all of us as adults. So as we have this conversation about how damaging social media can be, I really want us to take a moment to self-reflect into how we may be contributing to that toxic environment for not just children, but for adults as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So there's no one else on the list, but I have a few questions and comments, and Chair Scott. So I certainly agree with the problem. I think that there are some questions that I have. One, could you help me with the age mechanism in the bill? So I don't know if I missed this before, but it's, and some of the testifiers have said that people have to give information to be able to do this. And, you know, just speaking personally, I really do not give my birth date out online and, you know, and other kinds of information. And so this seems to be requiring that, or am I reading this wrong, Chair Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bill does say that they would provide just their birth date. But as far as the other things for age verification, these platforms already have that technology. They know darn good and well after a few hours of our kids being online how old they are. So, so to answer your question, yes, yeah, the technology is there. It's no mystery. It's not a hard thing for them to do, the social media platforms.
Okay, yeah, Chair Scott, that was kind of another, it kind of in the bill talks about them estimating the age and all of that stuff. And some of the testifiers also talked about having to do track location. Well, you're shaking your head, but, I know that if this bill were to pass, it only applies in Minnesota. So, of course, they need to know that you're in Minnesota to apply the legislation, I assume. Because when I was traveling and I was in, I think, Indiana, I saw on my phone, you get a notice that says, for certain things, you have to age verify because it knows you're in Indiana, right? So I think there is something to that. So I just would like to hear your comment on that piece of it.
Frankly, Madam Chair, thank you for the question. I hadn't considered that, but so a kid is somewhere in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, okay, so thank you for that. So, and I have a couple of, and another question for you, Chair Scott. Just from media, I'm aware that there has been litigation against the tech companies on the basis of having a defective product, which is kind of the way you seem to be going here in the bill. And I just wondered if you knew anything about that, or if that's related to what you're doing here. I mean, it's kind of a new approach to this that litigants are using, suing them for having a defective product, an addictive product, or, I don't know the details, but I just wonder is that kind of where this came from, or, because this is a very different kind of approach than what we've seen in the past.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question. And the reason for the new approach with this bill really is to go to the design itself of the social media platforms. And so that's the continuous scrolling, the videos that play without you engaging to have it play, the features like how many people have liked your post, those sorts of things. So this is really getting at the design aspect of it. And in speaking with Rep. Bonner, who we all know is kind of an expert in this stuff, that's the thing that she said is really most important in whatever we do, is to getting at the design. So I don't know if the folks from the Minnesota Catholic Conference, if they have any additional comments on kind of the genesis of the bill or not. But that's really what this bill is trying to get at. And in doing that, if we get at the design piece of it, then we're going to be less likely to run afoul of First Amendment issues.
Right, I think that's kind of is the reason that the litigation is taking that angle as well. So I have a question for I heard two of our testifiers online from the industry say that we need more comprehensive solutions. And I wonder what they have in mind for their more comprehensive solutions. And I wonder if one of them wouldn't mind expounding on that. And I think it was, I think both Megan Stokes and Nathan Trail both said that. So I don't know, is Megan Stokes, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah, could you answer that question for me? When you say we need a more comprehensive solution,
Sure.
What are you thinking about?
So and I feel bad I don't have the bill numbers or the law right off the top of my head, but there has been some really great work done around digital curriculum that's been looking at teaching adolescents both in school, but also it's bringing in parents, and it's talking about social media, how to use that effectively, if at all. And then it's also talking about parental controls for the parents to help run through what is the newest, what is the latest. So Virginia, Florida, New Jersey, and I apologize for not knowing the bill numbers off the top of my head, have all passed this and have been updating this curriculum pretty regularly. They've also been including information around AI and AI literacy, which has been very neat to see, and also to see students get involved in creating policies around the use of AI in terms of schoolwork and that sort of thing. So it's very, very interesting to see. I really like that approach. And then I am also a parent who's in the thick of this with a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old. And it is one where my local library has received grants to be able to help do the sort of training around what is social media and how it is so much faster than a parent might actually think, right? And it's just one of those where I think it's one of those where everyone kind of has a role. So, sorry, I get excited about digital citizenship.
All right, so I'm understanding then that your comprehensive solution is basically education. And it really strikes me from that this really is, Chair Moeller, very parallel to the gun discussion. Because in the gun space, I know a lot of folks say, just educate people. Just teach them how to be around guns. Just, and that, solves the problem in some people's minds. And apparently that's what the industry, or at least what this testifier is putting forward as a more comprehensive solution. And I guess I would beg to differ. Not that we shouldn't educate people, but I don't view that as a more comprehensive solution. So I think, we will, if there are no other, I'll give Chair Scott the final word, but I just would say too, before she closes us out here that, and we'll vote on the bill, to move the bill, but, so this bill is, as my comment on one of the previous bills, that when you're voting a bill out of committee, you are not saying this is a perfect bill, you're saying it should go to its next committee. So I just want to state, I do have some concerns about this. I have some concerns about the privacy aspect of it, Chair Scott. I don't, I turn off my location thing, and I know a lot of people probably do, because we, it is terrible how they collect your information, and whoever said here that's an information collection machine, that is what it is. So I don't know if this is the perfect solution yet, but I'm willing to vote for it, to move it out of committee to the next committee so it can continue to be worked on. And so I just want to say that, I intend to vote for the bill, and I'll give you the final word, Chair Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for the good discussion today. And, there's just some data some statistics that I've learned as I was researching for this bill. And one of the most troublesome one is that every day as many as 100,000 children receive sexual harassment or on social media platforms, including sextortion. That should upset us all and be more of a desire for a bill like this. Also, just want to point to, the differences that I may have with our Attorney General. He is on top of this issue. And he had a report a few years ago on the how social media and devices can be harmful to our kids. And he's taken on Meta, he's taken on TikTok, and he's not doing that without basing it on some science. And there's some really, for the tech industry to get up here and say that it's not addictive when you put a kid's brain on a monitor and it lights up like a Christmas tree, like a cocaine addict when they're looking at social media. I don't see how you can even defend that statement. So members, I appreciate the discussion. I will continue to take input on this. And one thing, Madam Chair, is there's some folks in the room, and I've told them, they asked that the definition for social media platform that we have in this bill be changed to the one that's in current statute, and I'm happy to make that change in the next committee. So with that,
okay.
Thanks
right.
again for the discussion.
Thank you. And one thing, I'm taking back what I said. I'm sorry about giving you the last word. I had noticed in your amendment, when we did the oral amendment to the amendment, that we might be missing an or.
Oh, okay.
So if you have that in front of you. So now with the change in it, it reads, starting on line 1.15, it reads, if the Attorney General has reasonable cause to believe that any covered social media platform is engaging in any knowing or reckless violation. I think we want to say has engaged in or is engaging in.
I would kick that over to Mr. Hopkins, just to make sure that
were you following?
Is engaged in.
Madam Chair, yes, that was something that my colleagues and I did notice after the committee took its vote. And that's something that we can update, I think, in the committee report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. So then I think then we could incorporate the change in, so on line 1.16, we would be inserting the word "or" after the comma on that line. So it would read, "or is engaging in." Chair Scott, you're okay with that?
Yes, that's fine,
Okay,
Madam Chair, yep.
So we'll do that for the committee report. Okay. Very good. So with that, Chair Scott renews her motion that House File 4138 as amended be re-referred to Commerce, Finance, and Policy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion prevails, and the bill is on its way to Commerce.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chair Scott. And I am shocked that we're finished a few minutes early, but we are, so we stand adjourned.